I stood at the door, suitcase in hand, ready for a vacation with my daughter, when a message chimed. "You're not joining us in Europe. My husband wants this to be just family." They left without me, inviting only my in-laws, even though I had paid for their brand new house. So I shut down all payments and sold it. You should have seen the havoc when they came back. As I was folding my favorite travel shirt, my phone buzzed on the nightstand. That soft blue cotton shirt was perfect for a cozy dinner at the little bistro Lindsay found near the Louvre. I could feel its smooth fabric in my hands. My bag was half packed on the bed, with clothes picked precisely for our trip to Europe. The Paris weather forecast was sunny, ideal for the walking tours I'd planned and packed in my carry-on. With a Frank Sinatra tune in my head, I debated between bringing my brown leather shoes or just sticking to comfy sneakers. Tickets to Charles de Gaulle and my passport, crisp and ready, were on the nightstand. Only 6 hours until takeoff, and my heart was a mix of excitement and travel jitters. The phone rang again, flashing Lindsay's name. I put the shirt down, expecting flight info or a last-minute airport meetup reminder. But the text I read froze me. "You're not coming with us to Europe. My husband wants this to be family only." I couldn't stop rereading it, hoping my thumb on the screen could magically change its meaning. The sweater I was folding ended up still in my hands as I wrestled with it. Family only? Wasn't I family? I was Lindsay's father. I had put this trip together, booked the flights, picked the restaurants, and meticulously mapped everything out late at night. What does family only mean when you're talking to your dad? I dropped onto the bed, suitcase still wide open. My hands shook slightly as I managed to type back just one word. Okay. Disappointment landed in my chest, heavy. I glanced around at all the stuff ready for a trip that wouldn't happen. Travel-sized toiletries lined up neatly on my dresser. Guidebooks highlighted with sticky notes. The new camera, bought especially for this trip, still sitting in its box. I closed the suitcase with slow, deliberate clicks, each sound final in the silent room. Then I called the airline to cancel my flight, listening to hold music and chatting with a customer service rep who was efficient but sympathetic. "Sorry to hear about the change of plans, Mr. Owens," she said, as if she could hear the sadness in my voice. Later, I sat in the living room, travel brochures scattered on the coffee table. The house felt emptier than ever, its silence echoing around me. Outside, Mrs. Peterson's dog barked at something in the distance, clear and sharp. I picked up a brochure full of glossy images of Roman architecture and put it on the side table. This tiny act felt hollow, but it was all I could bring myself to do as I realized I'd been deliberately excluded. Evening rolled in with the same dull quiet that had filled my day. I drifted through the hours like a ghost, leaving dinner dishes unwashed in the sink instead of cleaning them up right away like I usually did. The packed suitcase by my door was a constant reminder of plans that wouldn't come to be. The TV buzzed in the background with news I wasn't really interested in. I kept picking up my phone, scrolling through nothing, fingers twitching with restless energy. Maybe Facebook would distract me from the emptiness settling in my chest. I scrolled past endless cat pictures from Mrs. Johnson, recipe ideas I saved from my book club, and political stuff I didn't care to see. The familiar blue screen glow provided comfort as the room darkened. Then, out of nowhere, there it was. Todd's parents were posing in front of the Eiffel Tower, grinning with that classic tourist look, perfect for a photo op. The caption read, "The start of the best family vacation ever." It had been posted just a few hours earlier. My thumb stalled over the screen. Could it be another trip? Or maybe an old photo they decided to share? My heart raced as I tapped Todd's profile for more pictures. There it was, the same spot, the same time. But this picture had 4 people. Todd's parents, Todd and Lindsay, all gathered at a cafe in Paris, wine glasses on the table behind them. Lindsay's caption was a punch to the gut. "So thankful for family time in the city of light." I counted the faces with shaky fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4. The word family burned into my mind. I set the phone down on the coffee table, their smiling faces still looking back at me. I found myself pacing back and forth in the kitchen, peering out through the window towards my neighbor's house, where warm lights shone from their windows. It looked like families enjoying an evening together, but I felt a wave of betrayal crashing over me, each surge more intense than the last. Picking up the phone yet again, I hoped the photos would reveal a different reality. But there they were, fresh snapshots with radiant smiles, carefree and full of life. There they were, all four of them in Paris, enjoying the trip I had planned, using the itinerary I had meticulously crafted. I turned again to the kitchen window, catching sight of my own reflection. My face seemed ghost-like, eyes hollow. In the glass, overlapping with my image, was their group photo. Their joy seemed to mock my loneliness, the stark contrast cutting deep as a painful reminder of my true place in their version of family. Sleep was elusive that night, their vacation pictures looping behind my closed eyelids. As gray morning light softly seeped through my curtains, it became clear I needed answers. I had to understand why this was happening. My hands trembled slightly as I clutched my coffee mug at the kitchen table, rehearsing what I needed to say to Lindsay. With the time difference, it was afternoon in Paris, perfect timing for a call. Taking a deep breath, I dialed her number, listening to the strange, expensive-sounding international ring. The phone rang 3 times, then 4, before her cheery voice answered. "Hi, Dad." I could hear Todd in the background, along with city sounds and a generally busy atmosphere. "I need to understand something," I blurted out. "What's up?" she responded, sounding distracted, probably sightseeing. I mentioned the photos on Facebook, noting Todd's parents were with them. There was a long pause, then she turned defensive. "Dad, there's an explanation." "You said this was family time," I pressed. "What am I then?" Her voice grew cold. "Look, Todd said you can be overbearing. He didn't want the vacation to be a mess." The word overbearing struck me like a blow. A mess. I had planned all of it. I bought the tickets. Todd's parents contributed too. They don't expect us to babysit them. Babysit. The word hung between us, heavy with accusation. "I backed you guys when it was your decision," she interjected. "We're not looking for a guilt trip." I could hear Todd laughing about something in the background, his carefree tone making my jaw clench. "Honestly, Dad," Lindsay continued, her voice now like steel, "Todd's right. You're just too needy." The phone felt like a weight in my palm. "I get it." "Good. We'll talk when we're back, okay?" she finished. I ended the call without a goodbye, gently placing the phone down, the word needy echoing like a curse in the silent room. Compelled by an unknown impulse, I headed towards my office. The walls were covered in family photos, teaching Lindsay to ride a bike, her college graduation, her wedding, where I'd proudly walked her down the aisle with tearful eyes. Slowly, my hands clenched as I surveyed the images from what I had believed was a loving relationship that now seemed revealing in a way I had missed before. One photo captured me holding baby Lindsay, both of us beaming. The glass's reflection showed me now, an older man with a hardened gaze. I carefully straightened the picture frame, feeling like I was fixing more than just a crooked image. I stayed there, amidst reminders of what I once thought was love, now seemingly just a means to an end. Each picture on the wall began telling a story I was only starting to understand. The wedding photo walking Lindsay down the aisle. I had shelled out $30,000 for that day, ensuring every detail was perfect for her happiness. The college graduation picture. I cleared her student loans when Todd couldn't find work after school. House hunting photos spread across my desk. I'd co-signed their mortgage when banks wouldn't do it without me. Christmas photos displayed lavish gifts beneath trees I'd bought. Birthday parties where my gifts were the last to be opened, like an afterthought. Every memory brought a hefty weight on my heart, creating a pressure that made it difficult to breathe. Opening my desk drawer, I pulled out bank statements and receipts I'd kept over time, a tangible record of it all. The $80,000 down payment for their house, drawn from my retirement savings meant for my later years. Car payments I covered when Todd lost his job. Credit card debts I cleared during their tough times. The vacation fund I had saved tirelessly for years, which ultimately paid for their European trip. It wasn't just about the money I gave them. I thought about the plans and sacrifices I made that cut deeper than finances. Like the fishing trips with old friends I missed because Lindsay needed a babysitter, or the dinner invite from a woman in my book club that I turned down because Lindsay needed help moving. My own travel dreams kept getting put off while I helped fund theirs. On Sundays, Todd hardly ever acknowledged me during dinners and holiday gatherings. I always felt like an outsider, no matter where I sat. The little ways he made me feel unwelcome, even while he accepted my financial support, were sneaky and subtle. Now, the pattern was all too clear, and I couldn't believe I hadn't seen it sooner. My hands were shaking as I turned the photos face down, unable to look at them any longer. The word needy kept repeating in my head like a broken record. With sudden clarity, I realized the distinction between being valued for love and just being useful. They never let me into their lives. They just wanted me to fund them. I stood up quickly, my chair rolling backwards until it hit the wall. The reflection in the mirror above my desk showed someone who'd been taken advantage of endlessly, mixing up generosity with love and only getting manipulation as a thank you. It displayed a kind, giving, and trustworthy man who was repaid with betrayal and neglect. I opened my laptop, glaring at the bank account page, my cursor hovering over the Authorized Users section where Lindsay and Todd both had access to my money. My hand was inches away from clicking, ready to make a decision that would change everything, but I closed it without doing anything. That choice needed to be more than just an impulsive action. Some paths called for careful consideration. I sat in the stillness of my office, my laptop a closed door I wasn't ready to open. The weight of years of manipulation pressed down on me, and my eyes wandered to the family photos I had turned over. Silence draped the house like an unwelcome guest. It was broken by a notification ding from my banking app on my phone. My instinct was to ignore it, thinking it was just more spam about credit monitoring or some enticing offer. But something drove me to check. Maybe I needed a distraction from all the dark thoughts that were spiraling around. The screen showed, account alert, transaction processed. I logged into the app with my fingerprint, half expecting to see the usual utility bill or groceries. Instead, the transaction details stunned me. 7:45 at the Liberard restaurant, Paris, France. The alert came 2 hours ago, just around their lunchtime in Paris. My brain made the connections, however much I didn't want them. Lindsay had used the emergency card I gave her long ago when she was trying to build her credit. Back then, I thought I was helping her get financially stable. Now, that felt painfully ironic. Even though they left me out of the family vacation plans, they had no problem using my money for fancy Parisian meals. As I combed through recent charges, disbelief grew. Hotel reservations, luxury shopping, tourist attractions, all on my card, despite Todd's parents claiming they'd handle their expenses. I paced around my office, clutching my phone tightly. The family pictures on the walls seemed different now, almost like clues in a mystery I was finally seeing clearly. The thought rose up. This is my moment. I went to the app's card management section to check authorized users. Lindsay's name stared back at me, a reminder of the financial privileges I'd given out of love and gotten only manipulation in return. Another alert pinged. €85 at Boutique Chic Paris. She was still on a shopping spree while I sat here, grappling with this betrayal. That was the tipping point. My finger hovered over the option to remove her as an authorized user, pausing just for a moment. Years of being a good dad clashed with this new understanding that there was a point where helping turns into getting used. The screen asked if I was sure. This choice was permanent. I said yes. cut her access. And just like that, she was locked out. It felt like real control for the first time in forever. Strange, but good. I put the phone down gently, catching a glimpse of myself in the black screen of the computer. For the first time in a while, a faint smile appeared on my face. I headed to the kitchen to brew some coffee, my steps more assured after handling that stressful message. The coffee machine came to life, and outside, I heard my neighbor start their lawnmower. Life carried on as I started a quiet rebellion of my own. The next morning, I sat at the kitchen table, truly enjoying my coffee for once. The morning paper was laid out in front of me, and I was absorbed in an article about local high school graduations. Suddenly, my phone rang persistently. It was an international number I recognized immediately, and I checked the time. It was 9 a.m. here, which meant it was 4 p.m. in Paris. I let it ring a couple of times, holding off from the old habit of rushing to answer. "Morning to you too, Lindsay," I said, hearing her sharp intake of breath on the other end. "Dad, what's up with the card?" she snapped, getting right to the point. No greetings, no checking in. I informed her, "I took away your access." "Don't speak to me like that. I tried paying for lunch, and my card got declined in front of Todd's parents. The waiter had to come back 3 times. It was humiliating." Her voice was as sharp as a razor. "Yeah, sounds embarrassing," I replied, savoring another sip of my coffee. "Embarrassing doesn't cover it. Try mortifying. You can't just do that. I need the card." "Why? Didn't you say you didn't need my constant support?" "That's different," she said, voice rising in pitch. "Is it?" I asked, as a silence spread between us, broken only by faint background voices before she returned, voice dripping with venom. "Fix this now, or there will be consequences." "Like what?" I queried. "Well, Todd and I have been talking, and when we return, we're considering care facilities." My coffee cup paused mid-air. "Care facilities? Are you serious?" "You're getting older, and obviously, you can't manage your finances. We'll sell your house to fund it. You don't need all that space. Todd says it's for your own good." I sat there, stunned into silence, trying to process this threat. They seriously thought they could put me away and sell my house just because I stopped funding their trip. The audacity was unbelievable. "Dad, are you paying attention?" "Get my card fixed." I had heard everything. "All right, you'll fix it then." "Nope." "What do you mean, no?" "I meant exactly that. Enjoy the rest of your trip with your family. Dad, don't think about it." I ended the call, placing my phone back on the table. My hands stayed calm as I took a long drink of coffee, looking out my kitchen window at my perfectly maintained lawn. This house, my home for 3 decades, completely paid off, my name alone on the deed. They thought they could just sell it and ship me off somewhere convenient. But I had other ideas. Leaving my coffee behind, I got up and headed to my office, knowing I had work to do. I pulled the house deed from the cabinet and spread it out on my desk like it was a battle map. But it wasn't my own deed I concentrated on. It was the paper for the house on Maple Street, the one I'd bought for Lindsay and Todd. My name was still on it, just like it always had been. I remembered our conversation from 2 years back. "It's just for the mortgage approval, sweetheart. We'll put it under our names when everything's settled." They seemed too preoccupied to handle the paperwork, always saying they'd get to it next month, next season, next year. I found Marcus Chen's business card in my drawer, the guy who sold me both houses. He was discreet, someone I could rely on. I grabbed my keys and left. Driving through the familiar streets of Davenport, I waved back at Mrs. Patterson, who was out in her garden as I reversed out of my driveway. Her friendly wave was a little reminder of how regular this morning felt. 20 minutes later, I pulled up at Marcus's Victorian office, well restored and ready for visitors. As I stepped into the room, he glanced up from his computer, surprise and warmth lighting up his face. "Gary, what a nice surprise. How's retired life treating you?" he asked. I nodded and cut to the chase. "Marcus, I need to list the Maple Street house. Quickly. He stopped to assess my expression. Is Lindsay's place all right? Everything's fine, I assured him. Just time to move on. How's the market looking? Marcus expertly navigated his computer, swiftly finding recent sales data. The market's on fire. That area's hot right now. You're looking at $180,000 to $190,000. I was pleased. Bought it for $130,000 2 years back. How fast can we move? I pressed. As quickly as you want. We'll price it to sell, he promised, seamlessly preparing the necessary paperwork and lining up inspections. We should take photos and maybe give it some staging. I can send my team over tomorrow, he suggested. It's still occupied, I pointed out. Lindsay handling the showings? He asked. Nah, she's in Europe. I've got the keys, I responded. He looked momentarily puzzled, but we got down to business. We hashed out the listing price, commission, and closing dates. I signed the papers, my signature bold and determined. Marcus reassured me. We'll market it immediately. Offers might come quickly. As we shook hands, I appreciated his discretion. Heading back to my car, I felt a burden ease off me. With classical music quietly playing on the radio, I cruised through downtown Davenport, seeing familiar places with fresh eyes. At a red light, I watched a family cross, Dad carrying a toddler, Mom pushing a stroller, bringing back memories of when Lindsay was small, before money became such a focus over just being together. Pulling up to my mailbox with Owens fading on the side, the name resonated once more. Approaching my front door, keys clinking, a sense of change loomed. Inside, an email alert dinged on my laptop. Property listed successfully. Satisfaction washed over me, though I still had tasks ahead. I opened a tab, searching for moving services in Davenport, Iowa. I skipped the big chains, wanting something personal. Found Dave's Honest Moving, a family-run business with great reviews. For 15 years, they'd flourished, providing that direct personal touch you don't get with big call centers. When I called, that's exactly what I got. This is Dave, he answered, his genuine voice free of corporate speak. I need moving help tomorrow urgently, I stated. How urgent? Dave asked. Morning would be ideal for a full house, I replied. Digging deeper, he asked, where from and where to? I explained Lindsay's stuff needed to go into storage. Got a storage unit yet? He asked. I realized I didn't. Try Secure Storage on Brady Street, he recommended, and passed their contact along. Minutes later, Janet from Secure Storage was helping me work out the details. For a whole house, try a 10x20 unit, Dave advised. First month's $120, Janet chimed in. I agreed. Can you meet us tomorrow? I requested. Back on the line with Dave, we finalized everything. My truck and 2 guys at 8 a.m. on the dot. What's the address again? I repeated Lindsay's address on Maple Street, adding, they're away. I'd like it done before they return. Understood, Dave replied, knowing more than he said. Is this a family thing? Kind of, yeah. Been there myself. We'll respect your space and time, he promised. After wrapping up the calls and sorting out the storage payment, I whipped up dinner. My appetite, which had been non-existent for days, surprisingly returned. I set my alarm for 6:30 a.m., earlier than usual, and laid out work clothes, old jeans and boots from my contracting days, before I shifted to backing other people's projects. Watching the evening news, I found myself unusually engaged. The weatherman promised a clear day, perfect for moving. It felt like everything was aligning smoothly and inevitably. That night, I made sure my phone was charging by placing it on the nightstand next to a glass of water. As I brushed my teeth, the mirror showed a version of me I barely recognized. Someone ready to embrace change, no longer waiting for life's approval. The next morning, by 7:45, I was parked outside Lindsay's house, as punctual as ever. The place felt like any other house now. Dave's moving truck was already in the driveway, its engine running and sending puffs of exhaust into the chilly air. When I arrived, Dave, solidly built and practical even in his 50s, stepped out to say hello. Two younger workers in matching shirts were efficiently unloading equipment. "Mr. Owens," Dave acknowledged with a nod, offering his calloused hand. I opened the door with a spare key, revealing a house that was quiet and empty, matching the moment. We walked through each room, with Dave taking notes on the furniture and personal items. "Should take about 3 or 4 hours with the bigger stuff," he estimated. I showed him Lindsay and Todd's belongings, which was everything, like the expensive couch I bought them for Christmas and Todd's fancy office setup. The crew got started, carefully packing and labeling boxes from the bedroom. Despite Dave's warnings about liability, I pitched in. "I'm not that old," I joked, getting a smile from one of the movers. Pretty soon, I was hauling boxes labeled with Lindsay's books and Todd's sports equipment, feeling oddly satisfied with how methodically we were packing up their things. In the bedroom closet, I stumbled across their wedding photo albums. Flipping through them, I realized I was barely in those captured moments. Todd's family filled most of the photos, with me appearing just a few times at the edges. I closed the album and handed it over to the crew. Room by room, we packed away expensive items I nearly forgot about: designer bags, electronics, and the leather dining set we bought for their first anniversary. Even though my back started to throb, I powered through, driven by a purpose I hadn't felt in years. In a would-be nursery, I found baby furniture they'd optimistically set up for grandkids who never came. For a second, doubt crept in. Was I being too harsh? But then I found Todd's credit card statements, lavish spending, even though they claimed to be broke. That made my doubt disappear. "You okay, Mr. Owens?" Dave asked when he noticed I paused. "Just memories. Keep going." By 11:30, we completed our last walkthrough of the empty house. The rooms echoed differently now, with afternoon sunlight streaming through the bare windows onto the vacant floors. I locked up and joined the truck heading to the storage unit, watching their stuff disappear into space 47B. I paid Dave cash and added a generous tip. "Hope it all works out for you, Mr. Owens," he said warmly. On my drive home, my phone buzzed with a Facebook notification. As I pulled into the garage, the phone alert in the cup holder was a nagging reminder my peaceful morning was about to get a lot less quiet. Inside, I finally checked my phone, discovering a bunch of Facebook notifications. Lindsay had posted some angry updates. Some folks just don't get the idea of family privacy. The comments were full of people asking questions, with Lindsay playing the victim effortlessly. I closed Facebook without saying a word and called Marcus Chen back. "Gary, I've got great news," Marcus said with excitement. "We have a serious buyer, and they're offering cash already. A young couple just moved here for work, and they love the area." He paused for effect. "They've offered $185,000 more than we expected." That number made me smile. "When's the closing?" "They're eager to close right away. They could move in this weekend if possible." I checked my calendar. It was Thursday. This weekend? They're staying in a corporate apartment, month to month. Very eager buyers. Marcus's enthusiasm was infectious. "Can you arrange a quicker closing?" "I can have everything ready by tomorrow." "Let's go for it." Friday rolled around, and there I was at the title company, steadily signing every paper. Met the buyers, Michael and Sarah Thompson, a couple in their early 30s. They reminded me of Lindsay and Todd back when life seemed easier. Sarah had complimented the landscaping during our walkthrough, saying, "We love what you've done." I stayed quiet about it not being my handiwork. Michael, thrilled, said, "We can move in tomorrow morning," as he took the keys. My phone buzzed with the bank transfer notification, $185,000 minus realtor fees, leaving me with a $17,500 profit. Turning something meant to show fatherly love into a win felt pretty great. Saturday morning, I swung by the house one last time. The driveway was busy with a U-Haul truck, and Michael and Sarah were as energetic as ever directing movers. They were bringing in a baby crib, starting fresh in a home with a history of disappointment. I parked across the street, watching Sarah plant some flowers while Michael set up a swing in the yard. Just then, my phone rang with an international number. Timing was spot on. Lindsay got out of a taxi, travel-weary, but immediately alert to the scene. Todd paid the driver, his face shifting from confused to shocked as he saw strangers in his driveway. "Excuse me," Todd said to Sarah, who paused her gardening with a curious smile. "Why are you in our house?" Michael stepped out, paperwork handy. "Your house? Maybe there's a misunderstanding." I stepped out of my car, producing an envelope from my jacket. Lindsay's face shifted from confusion to dawning realization, then pure anger, all in a heartbeat. "Dad, what's going on?" Lindsay said, her tone sharp and all too familiar. Michael and Sarah exchanged nervous looks, Sarah gripping her gardening tool as if ready to defend her home. "Sir, I don't know who you think you are," Todd said to Michael, "but you need to get out of our place now." Michael waved his paper. "We closed the deal yesterday. This is our home." "That's not true," Sarah insisted calmly. "We should probably call the police." I stepped in, my tone as steady as years in construction had taught me. "No need for that." Lindsay was getting demanding. "Dad, sort this out now." I apologized to Michael and Sarah. "Sorry for the confusion. Please continue settling in." Then I turned to Lindsay and Todd. "I sold it because it's mine." Todd's brow furrowed. "What do you mean yours?" "Check the original deed," I explained. "It was never meant for either of you." Lindsay's voice reached that high-pitched protest I knew too well. "You can't just sell our home," I replied calmly. "I sold my property, yes." "You're stealing." Todd was barely keeping it together. "We'll sue." "How?" I asked, hinting at their financial woes. Todd crumpled the paper I handed him in frustration. "Where are we meant to go now?" Lindsay asked, almost desperately. Inside the envelope was a note. "Secure storage, Unit 47B, Brady Street." "Storage?" Lindsay's voice cracked. "You stored all our things." "Handled it," I told them. "First month's rent is covered." Todd was clearly frustrated. "This is nuts! You can't do this!" I shot back. "Family doesn't leave anyone out like you did." Todd made an intimidating step closer. "We'll fight this." "Sale's legit. It was mine." Lindsay tried pulling the daughter card. "How could you do this?" I looked her in the eyes and replied, "How could you do what you did?" Sarah came out, clearly concerned. "Everything okay?" I assured her. "All good. Enjoy the new home." With their European luggage and confused looks, Lindsay and Todd seemed like they'd stumbled into another life. I strode to my car, my steps firm. Todd yelled after me, "This isn't finished!" Hopping into my car, I fired up the engine, and the classical tunes resumed from where they had left off. It was finally over. Fast forward 3 months, I was flipping through the morning newspaper when the doorbell rang. A process server handed me some legal paperwork. It was the lawsuit from Lindsay and Todd. I accepted it without much surprise. Later that day, I went over the court's decision at my kitchen table. Case dismissed. I had every legal right to sell my property. The judge shut down all their arguments. Todd and Lindsay were on the hook for legal fees. My attorney called shortly after. "Total win, Gary. No chance for an appeal." The local paper printed a minor article. "Family property dispute resolved." I stuck all the documents in a new folder labeled Legal Victory and moved on with my day. The town had been rife with gossip for months. At the cafe, I heard people chatting. "Never trusted that son-in-law," one person remarked. Another added, "Gary Owens got what he deserved." Some shook their heads, saying family should stick together, but I'd learned to let such opinions slide off me like rain. I ran into Marcus Chen at the hardware store, and he asked how I was managing. "Better than I thought," I replied. That afternoon, I stopped by a pet store that caught my eye. Max, a 3-year-old golden retriever, needed a new home as his family was relocating overseas. The owner explained, "He's been around people, loves car rides." I crouched down, and Max came right over, his tail wagging like he'd been waiting for me forever. The connection was instant. Max sensed my loneliness, and I sensed his need for someone reliable. An hour later, Max was sitting beside me in my car, head out the window, both of us heading toward fresh starts. That first night, Max snuggled up close, and for the first time in ages, neither of us felt alone. With him at my feet, I began researching travel trailers online. I delved into articles about the best RVs for senior travel, all talking about freedom and adventure. At RV dealerships, salespeople were incredibly helpful. I took a 25-foot Airstream for a test drive, perfect for me and Max, who had already laid claim to the passenger seat before we'd even completed the paperwork. I sold my second car and used the trade-in value combined with my savings to buy it outright. Max took to RV life instantly. Together, we mapped out our adventure, national parks, small towns, all those destinations I'd dreamed of visiting, but postponed because of family obligations. On the morning we left Davenport, my home was prepped for an extended absence. I'd arranged for the mail to be held and asked neighbors to keep an eye out. While packing the RV, I included camping gear, everything Max needed, and one treasured photo album, pictures of Lindsay as a child before life changed us. Max sensed the adventure ahead, his enthusiasm contagious as I started the engine and checked the trailer hookup. We drove through Davenport one final time, past familiar places that seemed to shrink in the rearview mirror. As we passed Maple Street, I noticed Michael and Sarah's kids playing outside. There was a happiness in that home it was always meant to have. A roadside sign read, "Colorado 500 miles." Max had his head sticking out the window, and my grip was steady on the wheel. We were free at last. That evening, we found a scenic overlook in Colorado. I set up a camping chair as the sunset painted the sky in shades of orange and purple, colors I had never taken the time to admire before. Max sprawled out next to me, perfectly content, his only aim to be by my side. For the first time in years, I felt like I was exactly where I belonged.